My name is Stephen Newton. I'm from the U.S. originally, from Philadelphia. Grew up there, went to university, paid my way through university. Went to university in Seattle, University of Washington. I finished high school quite young, and I guess I thought I was a very smart kid, but kind of arrogant, to be quite honest with you. So my first year at university, I failed my first class ever in life, and I thought it was impossible. I thought there's no way that I could fail a class. People who I know passed the class that I thought were dumber than me, and it kind of woke me up just to experience failure. I think it's a good thing. Ended up going to the military for a few years to kind of get my head right, because I finished high school at 15, was in university quite early. So I went to the military for about 2 years, came back, finished undergrad, went to law school, practiced law for about 3 years in California, went to Loyola Law School. Didn't realize that maybe law wasn't exactly what I really wanted to do. Ended up getting into the online space, working for a company called Reed Elsevier, a product called LexisNexis. They basically were taking legal journals, making them available online so that lawyers can access data rather than go to a book. So I traveled with them. I lived on the West Coast, I lived on the East Coast and worked for them. Ended up in Spain and Sweden for a while. Then I moved to the UK, and I helped start a company called Hitwise, which is an online measurement company, a lot like Nielsen, ComScore. We built that company up for about 7 years, and then we sold it to a company called Experian, a credit agency. Took some time off, and then I started to work for a company called DoubleClick, big Advertising Exchange, and was their vice president for the Advertising Exchange for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We then sold that company to Google. So I was part of 2 company sales, which is great. I had equity in those companies. I then went off to work at Google as Google head of analytics for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So head of Google Analytics and checkout. Did well there, and Google asked me to move to South Africa to become head of Google for South Africa. Did that for Google. Really enjoyed the content in general, and coming back and forth for about a good 7 years before that. Then I ended up working as a managing director and vice president for another advertising platform called inMobi, and was their Africa representative. And then after that, I worked for a company called Naspers, a big media company on the continent. They own properties like DSTV, Internet, Supersport, and Oil. And I was their CEO for e-commerce platforms. Now I have my own company that I consult. I help bring businesses onto the continent. So retailers, companies who want to do e-commerce in Africa, I help them come to the continent do that. The company is called DataBridge. It's always been my goal to, well, let me step back. I'm the kind of person that has to multitask. I find it very hard to focus on just one job. I need to do 4 or 5 things. I have to stay busy. So what this allows me to do, it allows me to work in a few ways. One of my goals has always been to sit on top of a few companies as maybe a board member, as an advisor, help these companies reach their financial goals, and take less of a day-to-day running of the business, more of a advisor type role. I'm very fortunate enough that there are about 5 companies now that I sit on the board for, even this company being one, Social Media Week for Lagos. So I'm moving into a space, I'm moving towards a space where I can take a small piece of equity of a lot of companies in exchange for my expertise, experience, and trust. You have to have a CV that people feel that you can help them. I think the different companies that I've worked for, that I've run divisions for, has given that to me. You know, being part of startups and selling those, a lot of young companies, that's their goal. So to know that you've been there already, it really helps them. It also shows that you probably have the kind of connections that they need to get to the same place. So the CV definitely helps. The education, and when I say education, it doesn't necessarily mean university or structured education, but whatever it takes in your field. If education means that you've worked at these different companies, you've had these experiences, whatever that may be. Luckily for me, you know, I'm a lawyer as well, so understanding regulations, understanding contracts, understanding negotiations comes part and parcel of it. And I think trust, you know, in the sense of no matter how big you think your market is quite small. I mean, everyone either knows everyone or knows someone who knows that person. So make sure that you do quality work. It's a long day, number one. So to start off, of course, I get up, love your body, have breakfast. I like to work out, I go to the gym. And then I get back and I usually have meeting schedule. And these meetings could be 30-minute calls, 40-minute calls with different companies that I advise. And I try to have, if I support the company, some kind of conversation with that company at least once a fortnight, so at least once every 2 weeks. In between that, I do a lot of research because in order for you to consult, you need to also be up to speed on what types of trends are happening in your industry, what are some of the interesting pieces of information that are available. So I do a lot of research, and that research could be surfing the internet as well as looking at tweets, looking at other people who I think are influencers that I like to follow and know what's going on. I get on phone calls with potential clients. Spend a lot of time looking on, for example, updating my profile on LinkedIn as well, making sure that I schedule tweets on my Twitter account. Sometimes I'm out and about. I live in Cape Town, by the way, so a lot of my companies that I work with are not in Cape Town. So I have the privilege of staying in a really nice, beautiful environment, but working online. So most of my work is done initially via Skype, via telephone calls, and then if it gets to the point where I need to be there in person, I go in person. And because I'm doing things in different countries, the night doesn't usually end until about midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, because I have partners in California, and you can only imagine that it's a really big time difference between California and South Africa. So it's a long day, but the nice thing is that my office is my home. I get to work from home, so I'm comfortable. Well, I always kind of take things back to what I call the basics. I always say social media is nothing new. I mean, it's really nothing new. We're social by nature, human beings. People talk. People take advice from friends. Certain friends you don't say certain things to because you don't know how far it's going to go. You see what I mean? I think it's the same thing online. We shouldn't forget that this is just a virtual representation of what we do normally on a day-to-day basis. So when I say that, for example, everyone has that friend that you know if you tell her or him, it's going to get all around the world, right? So you're very careful on what you say to that particular person. Well, think about that as well on platforms. I mean, now you have a situation where social media can allow whatever you're saying, whatever you're thinking to be broadcast to an exponential number of people than it would if you just said it face to face or something. So choose your platforms. Think to yourself, if you want your professional side to be shown or your personal side. Like, for example, my Facebook is just for my friends and family. I don't use Facebook personally for my business. I don't think it's the right platform for my business. Twitter for me, however, is a great platform for my business. LinkedIn is a great platform for my business. My Twitter account is very professional. My LinkedIn account, of course, is very professional. My Facebook account is for my friends, so I can be a bit more. So find your voice, find your platform, be consistent on your platform. Be consistent with your communication on your platform, so meaning be constant. Think of how you can be a thought leader, especially in my business, through consulting. It's not just about sharing information, it's about sharing something arcane, something new, something different. I think it's a mistake to think that your business cannot be assisted through social media. I mean, I did a lot with e-commerce, so shopping online, buying things online. A lot of companies, for example, like Chanel, they don't sell things online, but they have a very, very in-depth, very exhaustive brand online. So there are ways to use social media, even if it's not to directly sell. I'm of a different mindset. I don't think you make mistakes. I think you go through life and things happen for a reason. I actually believe that, and I think that and I think it's a cultural thing. In the U.S., we like the underdog. We like to talk about the guy who had this obstacle, and overcame it. You know. So what I always say is, again, life's a journey, and if you stay focused on what you want, there's going to be dips and turns. There's not many people that walk a straight line from A to B to exactly what they want to do. If you look at them as mistakes, you may spend more time beating yourself up than you need to. if you're focused on your goal and you look at them as diversions and you look at them as well as lessons of how things you should learn, then I don't think they're mistakes. I think they are steps towards your journey. It's been a journey. It's been varied. I mean, I've lived in the Americas. I've lived in Latin America. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in Africa. I mean, and this goes back to what I was saying about the plan. That wasn't part of my plan to live in all these places, right? But I had a plan, and the plan that I had is actually happening, but it's happening in places I didn't think it would happen. So that's what's been interesting, you know, and what sometimes you ask for things and the response you get is scary, and you miss that opportunity because you're scared of the response. And I feel as though I've been fortunate enough and I guess risky enough to say, I'll take that response and see how it goes.